All right, so good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming in and joining us to talk a little bit about what we did yesterday. So the FBI Violent Gang Task Force, just like Brittany Spears said, we did it again, except we do it again, and we do it again, and we do it again. And the whole purpose of that operation yesterday is like every other operation, is simply to make sure that our communities are staying safe, that our communities are safe, and that we're doing exactly what we have been tasked to do, which is keep the American people safe every single day. So the task force itself targeted yesterday 16 federal search warrants, and the whole purpose of that was to make sure that we try to rid the streets of some very violent offenders, gang-based, from Sureños and Sindicato de Nuevo Mexico, and that was the focus of the investigation. Obviously, as a result of that, there was a lot of drugs that were seized, a lot of weapons that were recovered, and hopefully this will lead to safer communities. The one thing that I would want to kind of highlight is that when you're standing there and you're seeing the efforts of your work, and then you see people walking by that live in those communities every single day, that walk by these homes that they themselves fear on a daily basis, and they tell you things like, thank you. Not just thank you because of the job that you're doing at that very moment, but thank you for the days that will come after that, so they don't have to fear anymore walking their children to school. They don't have to fear that maybe they have to make sure that they're there on time to pick them up from the school bus because they're afraid something's going to happen. And we're talking about distances that are less than a block long. Some of these residences that were impacted by our work yesterday are very close to public schools, elementary schools at that. So this job was very necessary. This is something that we're going to continue to do, and we do it with the great partnerships that we have. I have a great partner that's sitting to my left, the United States Attorney. And without their work, without their effort of supporting us in everything that we do, we wouldn't be able to do it. But even on a broader scope, the men and women, not only of the FBI, but our state, local, and federal partners, the SEALs that are to my right, they were there. We couldn't have done it without Albuquerque Police Department, New Mexico State Police, BCSO, United States Marshal Service, the DEA, the ATF. Every single three-letter agency was out there to make this happen. We can't do it without their help. We can't do it without their support. And we do this on a daily basis. So I want to turn it over to my colleague, but also our friend to the FBI, Alex Ulayas.
Thank you, sir. It's my honor to be here this afternoon with the special agent in charge and my friend. This is an impressive haul, I would say. The Department of Justice speaks through our paperwork, as you will all well know, and you can expect further court paperwork describing the specifics to follow. There's been a criminal complaint filed against one of the individuals, and that's all up on PACER. But the biggest thing, and just to echo what the special agent in charge said, here is the teamwork and the partnership that made this possible. The image I'm most proud of, and there's many great ones, is the one that is up on this screen that depicts the 12 other agencies that stood with us and worked with us over the span of this investigation and dug in early morning yesterday to make this possible. And so without these partnerships, without this teamwork, these types of results would not be possible. Thank you all.
So just to talk a little bit about what was found. And again, these are estimates, so don't hold us to it. We're still kind of working through actually getting exact numbers. So we're talking about over 1 million fentanyl pills. So that's over 200 pounds of fentanyl that was recovered. Over 140 pounds of methamphetamine. Again, not exact, but that's a lot of methamphetamine. 37 firearms that were collected and millions of dollars of bulk currency that was also seized. And that was just at one location. This was a joint effort that hit many different locations, but this is just some of the highlights of what we recovered yesterday. I wouldn't say it's the biggest, but I've only been here, as many of you know, for a little over a year, and this is the biggest seizure that I've seen in the time that I've been here. Alex, obviously, he's been here longer.
Yeah, I've been in this role for much shorter. However, I've been in this community for much longer, not exclusively working this type of work, but anecdotally, I'll tell you this is the largest that I've seen since I've been working in law enforcement.
Questions?
When it comes to gangs affiliated with it coming through other states, are you seeing an increase your agency from people coming from other states, California, for example?
Are we talking about as far as the narcotics themselves or people?
People.
So it's, we live along the border. Driving just across town, you'll see that this is a very transient state. We have a lot of border states that kind of live and reside within our communities. To say, you know, as far as the narcotics themselves, that that's kind of affiliated to that. It's like the trends that you see in any other border state. Us being no different, let's say El Paso and whatnot. But these individuals lived here in New Mexico. Yes.
Can you talk, not to give away specifics and all that, but how prisons and the outside world, how they're interconnected with the criminal activity?
So that's always been something, right? So one individual that gets arrested today, regardless of where they are on the spectrum, right? First time or, you know, the 10th time, they don't stop being and doing the things that they were doing out when they were free. Sometimes those relationships that they had already established continue. Those businesses, quote unquote businesses that existed, still continue to be run. Some of those operations are run not only on the streets, but within the prison system themselves. So that's something that will continue.
Is this considered a takedown of the gang? Or gangs? I guess there were 3 different ones involved.
It's a takedown, but not, I wouldn't say like a holistic, right, approach, right? To say that we went and arrested every single person that's associated with these 2 gangs that I mentioned would be you know, very far-reaching, which I wouldn't say that, but it made an impact. To say this will be the last time we see these individuals, probably not.
And are they in custody? Are they behind bars, all 15 of them?
So there was 15 locations.
15
that-
locations, sorry.
Right, there was 15 locations.
Okay. But only 1 in custody?
Federally.
But
Okay.
Do you know how many are in custody in the state system?
do you know that number offhand?
I don't. I don't. We'll have to get that to you.
4.
I think there were 4 or 5 arrested total once.
Can I ask, do you have an idea where this fentanyl was headed?
So again, preliminary, and that's still part of the ongoing investigation. My best guess would be probably here in New Mexico.
1 million tablets.
It's a lot.
What's that word on the street?
That's a good question. I gotta make you do
I saw
math.
something.
So I would say
six-year
about
cap.
$2 a pill. You know, 1 million pills. Come on, real quick.
Yeah, who can do math?
So there were these search warrants, and every single one of them had to do with some kind of gang activity. And you're talking about these 2 gangs, 2, correct, that you named in your opening remarks. Is that all accurate?
Yes.
Would you say you guys are kind of continually tracking these 2 specific gangs and will continue to do so even moving forward?
Most definitely. We're always going to continue to make sure that just because we arrange one arrest or a takedown, if you will, that this is not activity that's going to stop. You remember the structure out here in this street or any streets across the nation is very different than the structure within the prison system. Sometimes alliances have to be made within the prison systems for them to be able to survive. Just because a gang that's very impactful here in our communities might not be so impactful within the prison system, whether we're talking about the state or federal prison system. So they have to align themselves. Unfortunately, when they make those alliances within those systems, that makes them stronger within those systems, those federal systems or state systems, which then when they're released impacts us greatly.
Do you know where the fentanyl pills came from, were produced? Was it local? Was it possibly out of state?
So we're still doing that as part of the investigation, but my best guess would be that it's not a local creation of the pills, no.
Are we talking about cartel activity with trafficking drugs into New Mexico, such as this fentanyl?
So many times that you look at these types of quantities, and also with our proximity to the state, to the border, I would say that that's a good assumption.
And something that we've been hearing is that some of these gang members are coming specifically from California and might be finding our state more attractive in terms of the laws that might make it, might be able to do this activity more easily. Would you like to comment on that? Are you guys seeing that as well?
I mean, I can't really comment. I mean, this is a beautiful state. We come there for different reasons. We came here about a year ago for the same reason, and I'm sure it's very attractive for others, whether it's legitimate reasons or other reasons of that.
How many were arrested yesterday in total?
I think it was 5, sir. We'll have to get back to you for sure. I think it was 5, 1 on a federal charge that's now in complaints and 4 in the state.
Okay, perfect. And then my follow-up question is, you mentioned a lot of the times the leaders of this are operating from prison. The leader is oftentimes inside. Have we identified who that may be at the moment, or is that still under investigation?
So that's still part of the ongoing investigation, but we are working closely with the state and federal systems. They were part of this takedown.
On that same line, is there anything more that can be done within our state prisons to kind of crack down on this?
That's, it's part of a bigger conversation for sure, but we definitely are looking at working and partnering closely with them to see what it is that we can do together collectively so that we can impact this damage that's happening on our streets.
Is it gonna take state law or anything like that to make that change, or is it just partnerships, more employees?
So I think from our perspective, and this our perspective as a law enforcement perspective, is we'll continue to partner with them, work a lot closer with them, and follow up on any investigative leads that can provide us to hopefully help us do our job better.
How long were you working on this case, and what made you determine we're gonna go after it?
It's been a long time. This case itself, and a lot of this information y'all can pull up on Facebook, it's been going on for many, many years, and it's part of that. It's a constant back and forth between being out in the streets, doing what we're doing and doing what we found yesterday, and then going into the prison systems and continuing that same activity, and then coming right back into that fold. It's just been a long time coming.
As you can see, these kind of grow organically. The affidavit outlines a lot of the history there, beginning with the first round of federal indictments in December of 2015. The targets develop and grow, and we change approaches and avenues that we're going to take to attack it. But it has been ongoing for a long time.
What impact do you expect to see in the community on violent crime with 37 firearms, 5 arrests, millions of dollars seized, drugs seized? What kind of impact can we see on violent crime?
It's a reduction, right? It's a safe reduction when you take that many narcotics off of the streets that really is the fuel of the other types of activities that we see, where people are rival gangs looking to try to control, whether it's a street corner or it's related to, trying to take dope off of each other when the dope is no longer in existence. You've taken one big piece out of the equation. So we hope that, at least in the short term, we're gonna see a reduction in crime.
When you have a collaboration like you did with all these other organizations and it leads to something as successful as what we're here discussing today, what's the takeaway from that? What does everybody walk away with as far as moving forward and combating things like that?
So from my perspective is that that's the right way of doing it, right? There's only so many resources we all have as individual agencies, that the only way we can really continue to be this impactful is continuing the great work of working together.
We're better when we work together. When we're siloed, we miss things. We miss important leads and important targets. When we work together, we get stuff done like this.
Or an attorney question for you, but how long, minimum to maximum, these guys could spend in federal time?
So there is one individual charged federally by complaint, and there's copies up here for you. I'm flipping to it, charging a couple violations. The largest charge are violations 21 USC 841 A1A and B1A, which are mandatory minimum terms of 10 years up to life.
So you talk about 5 arrests, 1 federal charge. The other 4 were misdemeanor felony type warrants from the local and state officers. Is that what I'm understanding?
So, yes.
Okay.
But it's like everything else, right? Now that I turn this over to my friend here to my left, but we look at everything that evidentiary that we collected, and now we're assessing additional charges as well.
And so obviously, this one guy is going to be the last of arrests coming, we're hoping.
You're very astute.
As you arrested those 5, were there any injuries sustained by officers or the other individuals involved? Did they fight back? I mean, I know you went in the dark, early morning hours, but anything of that sort?
So this is a lot of planning that goes into these types of things. And we brought in several other resources from outside the state, other FBI, SWAT teams as well, to make sure that we minimize that on the front end. And, the good thing that we can report now is that there was no injuries. Everyone did their job as we expected, and the job was done just right. And for the most part, these individuals, they knew what they were doing, and they knew their time had come up.
Last question, John.
Yeah, we have 15 target subjects. Are all those subjects in custody? And define a target subject. Why were these 15 specifically identified?
So the one specific, all of these individuals were part of the organization themselves. They played a role into the distribution that we were seeing out here in the streets of New Mexico. Some of those individuals that you see on that list were already incarcerated in different facilities. So yes, to answer the kind of the big, answer to that question, all are in custody except I think one or two.
Can I have one last question?
Yes, Carl.
So what message do you want to send to the Serenians? Or to the S&M members on the streets or even in federal or state prison?
That no matter how you feel you're going to continue to want to impact our communities, obviously in a negative, that we're going to keep coming for you. We're going to keep doing our job. We're going to keep refining our skill set. We're going to keep refining our procedures, and we're going to keep doing this. We're going to do it because it's the right thing to do. And unlike what they're doing and their activities, which is the wrong thing, the FBI does things the right way, and we do it consistently every single day. And we're going to keep doing it because it's the right thing to do.
All right, ladies and
Just one
gentlemen.
more real quick.
Thank you, sir.
Any comment, and sorry if this is in the documents you just handed us, can you speak at all to the level of involvement in this gang activity of the man facing federal charges, Jesse Young? How high up in the chain was he? Can you comment at all on that?
So I'd have to get back to you on that question.
Well, we're gonna let the document speak for
It
themselves.
is covered pretty extensively, his role, and
Gotcha.
explained in this.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.